Hello. Not late. Late by a minute, of course. Every time I think I'm not late. No, shh. Gotta be a little quiet because babies are being put to sleep, and I might hit the button a little too early. Oh. How are all you guys while I get links and stuff going here, huh? No, we said Firefly last time, and we'll mix some of that in the end. But I was, just don't want to go to sleep for anything. All right, what are you doing? Barely. It's a different one. Okay. Hi, everybody. Our children have decided that sleep is for the weak, and they are not weak. There's this. Hey, Felis. Oh, so. Oh man. Well, you can tell we're having quite a day today. We'll be getting into it here in a second. We're going to share things in random locations. I finally have 2 days off in a row. It's a miracle. What luxury. Oh, man. Ooh. Whew. Excuse me as I get this going here and being really slow. We'll be talking about superheroes today. The fun and listening to all of the kiddos everywhere. Skydog's here. Your face is slow. Or is this a connection issue?
My mouth still hurts, by the way.
From what? From chewing? She tried to eat her face in her sleep. Someone tell her she's not. Well, she is that tasty, but you tell her she can't taste herself. Man, good to have you guys. It's gonna be really loud. Not gonna lie. The youngest has refused to go to sleep, and it is 10:50.
To go to sleep. All of them.
The oldest are bouncing off the walls. We're trying to get moving.
Inspection today.
Yep. The next 2 days will be the first 2 days I've had off in a row in a long time. No way, I had that last week.
You had it last week. You had Christmas and Christmas Eve off as well.
But I wasn't supposed to. It was supposed to just be Christmas. Meltdown in 10, 9, 8. I think that's geared towards you. I'm not going to melt down. You're going to melt down, Skytalk. Anyway, I'm going to try and get into it. I want to start doing some lessons soon, like start the next semester. I'll have to start it a little premature than I want, but everything's been crazy with the move and life. But at the same time, I don't want to be like a whole month behind. But we'll get it sorted. So, as usual, in our little in-between Sunday school lessons, we're going to be concentrating on propaganda and media. In this case, I want to concentrate on neutered superheroes. And by that, I mean... It's a metaphor.
You okay?
My God. Her skulls. It's like iron.
The amount of times she headbutts the floor. Why are you crying?
One kid hits the table with her head, the other one cries in the other room. Anyway, specifically, the no-kill rule. Oh, they're escaping. Somebody save me. They all want to be part of the podcast. We'll change them. Wife goes in there, smells a stinky diaper. You stink. You stink.
Their attitude stinks. All stink. Everybody.
What was that
Give
line
it
you
stink.
did that one time? It was something like this
Your
diaper's.
attitude, your diaper is just as bad as their attitude.
It was
You need
like
to change it.
it was more intense, but yeah, the general purpose of it.
One
So,
of my favorite lines.
why is this neutered superheroes, and why does that even matter? What's wrong with you? Why are you looking at me? You guys couldn't see what she just did to me. Get in there and change diapers, woman.
Stop.
I'm doing it live.
Right now.
Okay, that must have been confusing. One of the doorknobs to the rooms has fallen off. And one he says. I hope you guys are entertained by this badness. If you guys couldn't hear that, there's 3 boys ranging from 5, 6 down to 4 and 3, all sticking their legs up for diaper changes. Turds, a lot of them. Pun intended. That was a man that. Yeah, that's why they're stinky. The wipes. I'll have you know, I changed like 2 or 3 poopy diapers before we put them to bed. I swear they save poop for these moments. Dad's streaming. Everybody poop at once. Rosie, do you want to be my co-host till she gets back? Come on. I'm all the way. What do you? Look. Make Skydog jealous. Yes. You want to? Are you a super dog? Yeah, she's a super dog. So, I'm sure we all can think of the yes. Sit. Good. Yes. Super dog is here. Everything's better. So, the scenario, the classic one, of course, is in the DC universe with the Batman rule, but Superman too. In fact, in some ways, I think the Superman one is almost even more egregious. I mean, yes, Batman for sure, especially with the whole Red Hood thing. This what Doggo thinks. Yes, right. The idea, basically, that no hero actually kills for whatever reason. And you get this kind of an Marvel, but not as much. Much more of the heroes are more willing to kill in the Marvel comics, but not all of them. And each of them will have funky things about them. Like Captain America, for example, right? He technically, suddenly when he's out of the eye, killing, but he was a soldier killing other soldiers for a while in World War II. So kind of strange. But when you think about the whole, I'm all over the place with this, but think about the whole dynamic kind of set up with World War II, where they have like this is a holy war kind of situation, where that war it's okay, but white boys do. You're so. What is this derp face? Stop the derping. Right. So, I'm all wow. Brain come back. Basically, with World War II, there's almost like this. They've set up this whole like fake golden age history about it. Like it was the super crusader war where Nazis were cartoonishly evil villains, and it was okay to kill them because they were white and vaguely angry looking. And there's something about Jews. What was it? Can you tell me, doggo? Yes. Are you mad that she stole your seat? You can just push her off, right? And then it's not okay to kill ever after again. Or my personal favorite in the and we'll expand a little bit and say just killing and in general other stuff. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? You remember Avengers, right? And what was the big thing that Captain America was so mad about in the first Avengers movie? Do you remember? Diabetes. I mean, the rest of his generation certainly was, but he. This is what apex predators are like. Just
Your dog pushes me away from you too.
Mm-hmm. She was really mad when I wouldn't when I didn't pick her up long enough when I got home today. Woo! But he was just mad that they were making weapons and nuclear bombs. All the weapons. A soldier's mad about more weapons. The little blue rays that can go pew 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 pew. Unless, of course, you're black in the MCU, right? Black Panthers people can have their purple pew pews, but heaven forbid the white guys have their blue pew pews.
Okay, why didn't they go with like I don't know blood diamonds? Oh well,
like
that's not mine. I was thinking,
right, setting up like this moral, like it was morally morally wrong to create these quote unquote super weapons, which weren't that super, and like the United States, it's one of those silly things. It wouldn't have been nice to have maybe some shield agents on the front lines shooting the weird army of freaks coming in the portal instead of having seven. Was it seven? It was six. How many of them in the original was? Okay, you know, mentally unstable people, one with a bow who has no idea what the hell he's doing, shooting up into a portal. Wouldn't it have been nice if there was like, I don't know, a bunch of anti-aircraft fire missiles, even just conventional warfare there? But no, bad. Bad. You may say, where you're all over with this. What you're trying? I'm saying, if you go all through, especially in modern superhero stuff, I'm a bit of the earlier comic concepts. You have the same neutering of the male spirit, limiting what is considered. Child. Excuse. What is considered heroic? Be heroic. Revenge for any reason, revenge for others, vengeance of any kind. Bad juju. It's only justice. You can murder every single one of their henchmen, break all their bones, send them all into hospitals and ruin their lives. But you kill the guy who actually caused all the problems, who will be out of the prison in 2 weeks or breaking out in whatever comic book scenario again, right? No. Yes, right? And the goes even stronger as time goes on. Sorry, I'm all over the place with this. It's been really hard to focus tonight. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna drink more soda. I hope that because caffeine helps me clear my head a lot. It's crazy, isn't it? Be great if we were in like a winter hellscape, but we're in Florida. Felix says, that's how it always ends between the Joker and me, unresolved. Yeah, right, the classic Batman thing. But, I would even argue more egregious is the Superman no kill rule. The argument there is, he's, if he gives into that, it's too far and it'll go crazy. Like all the arcs where Superman becomes evil, goes crazy, or whatever, right? Almost all of them, if it's not just like some genetic difference, like the version where he's like the syndicate crime boss, which is actually kind of hilarious. So loud. I think it's the Injustice League or whatever it is. Usually Joker or whatever kills Lois Lane or tricks him into killing this Lois Lane or something. Whatever. The point is, he has revenge off the deep end, killing anyone and everyone he pleases. Because what they're trying to solidify is the concept that if you kill a murderer, you're a murderer too. And this is patently false, in fact. My personal favorite is the concept that you'll become just like whatever you kill, which is obviously false. Like if I kill a pedophile, I do not become a pedophile. No, you don't become a murderer either, because there was good reason to do it. And this is important again, going back to our entire warriors half concept, right? We have stories in the Bible where you have, I think I brought this one up before, right? There's a ton of adultery going on with, I believe, Moabite women. Don't quote me on that. Amongst Israelites. And they're going through a plague as a result because they're basically whoring out their women to convince the Israelites not to kill them. It's a crazy thing. And or something like that. Right? They're sending the women in to distract them and stop them from actually completing God's judgment upon them. And God's so mad, he's starting to kill the Israelites with plague. Probably sexually related disease in some ways too, if I remember. And as they're talking about this, like Moses is talking about the problem with the elders, a guy actually brings one of these women right in front of them into his tent to go have sex with her. One of the passionate dudes, could be Caleb, don't quote me. I think it was just
the one that goes in this.
Yeah, with a spear. While they're doing it, he just spears both of them, and that ends the plague and saves Israel. That man is blessed for that. Just
he made a mistake.
Name me a comic book situation where that guy would not have been considered a villain. At best, an anti-hero, maybe, but definitely would be a villain eventually. Exactly, right? They're trying to neuter. I'm not saying you do that to everybody. Sometimes there's circumstances, right? Why are you so cute? Wow, that's exciting. I want to know what she's been drinking. I need some of it for the stream. All right. The point with all those stories throughout comics and particularly on superheroes is to neuter people's ability to actually target the evil at its heart. To stop your ability to fight evil. That's the point. Now, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of circumstances where God is sending prophets in or people in to basically give everyone the best chance they could possibly have, if that makes sense. Shame them basically so they have no excuse. That's Jonah with Nineveh, if you remember, right? He's sent to the evil people to give them that so they have no excuse when they're punished. They were warned, right? And the funny thing is, with that whole situation, they do come around. He's not happy about it. But then, if you keep reading, they start sinning again very soon afterwards. And then God destroys them. It's great. What does Anthony say? Which is anti-Christian. When did he say that? Oh, right. Not being able to fight evil. Okay. Sometimes there are generations and groups of people called to be that. To be the prophet, the martyr, sent to the evil to give them a chance to repent. And if they don't, it's almost like a legal thing. That God... It's funny how much of the spiritual world seems to be a legal thing. Like, things aren't allowed to come in unless you're marked, or unless you let them in, or unless you're part of whatever property, or your property's been blah 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 blah. There's like weird little legal stipulations that demons and other monsters and things tend to take advantage of. But God also
you mentioned earlier, like when the one about the demons that require fasting to take care of, and then later took it to the pigs and the pigs died. Is it that story?
Dude, you're mixing up your stories so hardcore right now. Because
this is why you're talking.
Let's examine both of those stories then before we move on. The first story wife was talking about was some of the disciples are sent out by Jesus to go save people, and
the same book.
Maybe, I don't remember. Some miracles aren't mentioned in each gospel, but and they're driving out demons, and then they run into one guy and they say, in the name of Jesus Christ and all this, right? Get out. And the dude says, screw you, and goes crazy, and they can't do it. And so they bring the guy.
That's a guy with many demons. Never mind.
No, you're still mixed up. We'll get to the pigs. And they bring him to Jesus, and Jesus tells it to shut up and get out, and it leaves. And they ask him, why couldn't we do it? And he says, because these demons require fasting and prayer. So it's funny, like most people miss that he's telling them you have to fast before you can engage with this specific level or type of demonic entity, right? Which again throws in the face of a lot of modern churchy nonsense, the idea that you would have to prepare in some way, right? There's a reason why I tell you to cleanse your sins and all that kind of stuff, because it breaks your connection to God. Well, some things require more ammunition than the standard in Jesus Christ, get away from me. Now, that said, it'll always affect them. I just had a thing where I was reading some research and someone was spreading lies about this bullshit, right? But you can't always expect something entrenched in a place, like if you're trying to bless an establishment or a house that's haunted or being owned by something, or a person who has some specific type of demon in it, to always give up the ghost easily. Faster. There's a handbook somewhere, and I'm sure someone has some things, but who knows how many of these handbooks would be trustworthy. So we work with it as we go. The best answer when it comes to evil is pure from a sin angle as possible. Just you're cleansed of your sins as much as possible, and so you're not broken from your connection to God. And sorry, my child has so much energy right now. She's killing me. She's running around making whooshing noises and like pointing up in the sky while pretending a little toy pool box is a purse. She's so girly. It's cute. Little girl stuck in a boys' world full of boys' toys. We've been working on that as best we can.
And the boys take over her doll.
I bought her this cute little like Barbie horse thing. It's actually better than Barbie in that sense. The off-brand is better than the on-brand these days, and it's like a black grayish with red highlights. It's great. It's a cool horse, but also very feminine. My son has gotten a hold of it now that she's bored of it, and goes, "Dad, I need the white horse now because there's, of course, another horse in the series." I'm like, son, I know you like horses too. Stop it.
Well, he tells everybody what they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then he comes over to us like, "This is what they want."
This is what they want.
Knowing that he,
they're not old enough to say no at this point. Sure. You're so cute. Oh man. But the other story, so we can complete the concept.
I got mixed up.
But we are still talking about demons at this point, so this is a good story to bring up as well. There's a man who was possessed, and so strong possessed that no one could drive out the demons in him, and he was so crazy, so violent to himself and everyone around him that they tried to lock him up. But he would always break his chains and he'd run off and hide in a cemetery. Interestingly enough, if we can bring some things from the Grizzly Files, there's as we brought up, connections to werewolves, demons, dogmen, and such. And a lot of cryptids have connections to demonic activity, alien type activity, and whatnot. And a lot of them, especially the dog type entities, love graveyards. I know, bones, right? Now, I don't think they're gnawing. It gets weird. But in the story in the Bible, the man comes out to meet Jesus once he comes off the boat. And the demons freak out and they like call the Lord and like, "Are you here to torture us?" And he goes, "Shut up. Fine, I won't torture you at this moment. Go into those pigs over there." And they run off into the pigs after asking permission to do it. And then they run all the pigs over into the lake and die.
I like the story.
That was the story she was coming up with. Also notice the weird differences there. And again, the permission and the almost legal language being used by the demons in this scenario. Right? They remind Jesus that it's not time yet for them to be punished. Right? Like, are you here to end us now? And now, on one hand, that's their fear because, as we've brought up in previous stuff, they don't know how this is all going to go down. They just know they're going to get punished at some point. And and he says, "Shut up! Don't talk about that crap. No, I won't do it now. Get out of here." You can see a lot of times demons were just shut up, get out. Other ones required a little extra attention. It just really ranges. And it doesn't help that the term demon is a catch-all for any unclean spirit.
The one the unclean spirit says be silent, come out of him. Or stop him.
Yep.
Okay.
And could you save my computer by unplugging my keyboard before my child finds some strange nebulous setting that makes all my keys mirrored?
Oh shoot! I should have walked. No, I can still walk.
Yes, there's in modern gaming stuff. Modern anything. Like I got my wife this fancy keyboard, and then my keyboard broke, and she was nice enough to give it to me until I can get her another replacement. She still uses it sometimes, and it has a weird setting that flips, like mirrors, like makes maps the one swipe maps the WSD to the arrow keys and the arrow keys to WSD. Why would I want that? And I can't figure out the button combination to switch it back.
There's one button I think that does it.
So I have to go in and manually change it again. She knows what it is. She does it all the time.
I don't.
Don't you bark, dog. It's late and I'm tired.
Really? The curtain? There's a word for you.
She's like, "I'm innocent."
No, you're not. You are
she has this innocent look.
You are far from it.
Oh, man. So I've gotten a little lost in the weeds, but bringing it on back. It's all designed to make you feel like the only way you're allowed to fight evil is within a legal system that incidentally, even a really corrupt, like if we bring Batman into this, even a really corrupt legal system, even if all that legal system is going to do is, even if we say the legal system kills the murderer or whatever, or has justice in that way, like puts him to death, which that never happens in the comics for some reason. What's the difference then between the superhero and the revenge or something? Right? It's the same result. And some people would say, "Oh, well, judge, you shouldn't take it all of justice into your own hands." Like the line between justice and vengeance. Someone needs to actually explain it to me exactly. They have this nebulous thought in their minds, right?
No.
Oh, we get justice for the victims. Well, what does that justice look like? How is that not revenge for the victims? In the Bible, justice and revenge are interchangeable words. They're like the same. That's the old Hebrew for you. Now you could argue that that's a cultural difference, but I'd say it's a strong indication of how we feel about it. Now, I also want to make a difference between petty revenge.
Right now.
Petty revenge is a little different. That's your gamma. Oh no, he put underwear on my head. I'm going to hate him for the rest of my life. The Bible is very clear about not doing that. Proverbs and the forgiving lines and all the rest.
Go.
Yes, give her chocolate. That'll help her sleep. And I want to apologize again. Some of this I have more when my brain is working better and I have more time to prepare. I have a more succinct argument that matches better for this stuff. I feel like I'm just all over the place right now, and I'm. But again, these are themes we brought up. And Rosie,
Donna,
you're gonna make that dog puke by giving her chocolate, and you're cleaning up the puke, toddler, not me. Me, somebody else causes problems here. Dog. What?
Not the cat.
Stop.
Just eat it.
Oh, now it's also frustrating. This actually goes way back to in the American zeitgeist to George Washington. I know that kind of comes out of nowhere. That kind of came out of left field, right? Everyone's like, "What? George Washington?" Yes.
A wooden tooth.
The wooden tooth. You're gonna go with that one aspect of that he had wooden teeth at the end of his life. That's whatever. Anyway, remember why is George Washington praised so much for the whole moment where he convinces all of his officers not to overthrow the Congress, who definitely deserved to be overthrown at this point, by the way, who completely failed in all of their duties and were quickly showing that they needed a king. And Washington convinces them, no, don't do that. It's okay. Right? We need to do things differently, blah, blah, blah. And you say, well, how's it? Well, it goes all the way back to that. This concept, this idea that you always work within the system and you never take justice or what needs to be done into your own hands. That, obviously, that's more concentrated on military and coups and politics, but that's where it starts. That's the concept, the ideals where it starts and how it morphs through all these continued stages. Didn't just start with superheroes. It also started with like 80s action figures, action stars and whatnot. I mean, for every action movie where you have like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Commando coming up with a hilarious line as he kills every single villain. my personal favorite. Hey Benny, didn't I tell you I was going to kill you last? I lied. Oh, froze him off a cliff. It's a good time. Isn't that right? Oh my! Oh no. Okay. There's a giant black dog here now. Hey. Yes. Hello. How are you? But it's funny how those morphed into this situation where they would murder like every single henchman, just death without hesitation.
What now?
Hesitation. And then when it gets to the final bad guy who has not looked for any form of forgiveness, any form of repentance, is still mocking them as they're about to die, right? That they're for some reason supposed to spare their lives. And then at the last second, if depending on the movie or show or whatever, there's going to be a sequel. The villain tries to kill him at the last second, and it turns into a self-defense kill for some reason, right? Vox has talked about this a lot too. It's so dumb. The one that comes to mind right now isn't quite the same, but the movie Hook comes to mind. The only person killed in that whole movie, well, besides Rufio, is Hook, and only because he chooses to try to stab Peter Pan in the back after Peter Pan spares him, which he definitely shouldn't have spared him. It was stupid. What? No, he kidnapped your children. He tried to manipulate them and brainwash them against you. Killed your best little friend buddy, and you're just going to let him live. I mean, maybe don't kill him in front of your kids. Maybe. You know? Like, why? Oh, it's just irritating, right? And that is riddled through all of it. Now, this comes to mind a lot more, I realize now, because this woman and me, this woman has gotten hooked onto Marvel Rivals and dragged me into it. It was hilarious. I started playing it, just kind of off and on, kind of fun. And then like, hey, you want to jump on? You look, you could play as which character did you want to play as first?
At first was Wolverine.
Well, yes, it was hilarious. She played like a angry cat, just just slamming buttons, and somehow she still got kills. It was hilarious. And there's all these like little sidelines, little conversations, and I noticed that everyone was just shitting all over the Punisher all the time. And this is a Chinese company, man. You're gonna sit there and try to tell me the Chinese? I mean, maybe about the whole better not do it outside the system, bro crap, even though they have more revolutions in their history. I had a funny analogy there. Was something about like the crack-headed Frenchies on a. It was funny in my head, but it just didn't want to come out there. Whatever. They've had a lot of revolutions, most of them Buddhist in nature. Might have led to an entire town being cannibalized once. But you know, they never did anything outside the system. Yeah. But it is accurate according to the comics, and I'll give them credit with that. Like this is one point where Captain America is all talking down to the Punisher when they're on the same team. He's like, you think you're like Punisher's like, wow, you're my hero. And he's like, I'm not proud of you, soldier. They're calling him soldier, but he's mad that he kills people. Like, did I miss something, Captain America? Do soldiers do else? Did I miss the part where they yell bang bang or give up or I shoot or do they kill people? They kill people. Then usually in a very unfair fashion if they can get away with it. If they can blow you up with a mortar or a freaking bomb from 10,000 miles, you know, from way away where you have no chance of fighting back, that is their preference. She fell. Right? And it just was a reminder to me how all of this is sprinkled into all of the superhero genres and dialed up to 11. The concept that you should never be taking, ironically, superheroes take justice into their own hands, but you're never supposed to take it all the way. Right? You're supposed to give them over to the police, even when the system is obviously failing and not going to work. Like the Batman one is particularly funny because the system is supposed to not work, right? That's the whole reason why he's there. It's not working. It's corrupt. The mafia owns everybody. They own all the judges. Sound kind of familiar, actually? Like take mafia out and add satanic elite. Sounds pretty familiar. But maybe, you know, ironically, perhaps it is actually in a satire of reality because nothing ever happens. Gotham never gets better. All the supervillains just kill more people. And he just punches a bunch of dudes. No. You know, Batman is a great analogy for conservatives who think they're edgy because they constantly think they're fighting, but for nothing and conserve nothing and eventually give up everything. That's the truth. So, hi. Got distracted there. You know, it's really funny to look at some of these superhero stories and realize kind of what they're trying to hint at. For example, the one that entertains me is when Lex Luthor is elected president. Don't. And Superman's supposed to ignore the fact that he's actively trying to like murder him and kill all his friends and whatnot. while in the Oval Office and turning the entire American military apparatus against him. In that situation, why wouldn't he just kill Lex? But he killing the head of state of so what? It's that state has declared war on him as a person and his family. This is what he has to do to survive. It's silly. No. They always have it when this happens, suddenly he decides to play God. Killing one political leader who's clearly evil and causing lots of problems would instantly turn you into a horrible person that kills anyone and everyone they please, right? Again, we talked about this in our Sunday school lessons, oddly enough, right? What was Ehud? He was an assassin who killed a political leader and was blessed mightily for it. He killed the fat king. Remember that guy? Sword goes in, gets swallowed by fat, poop comes out, and he escapes out the window while all the guards think the fat man's on the bathroom, on the pot, and starts a rebellion. Now, you may also point out that assassination, bad, unless, of course, they want to kill Trump or whatever du jour of the day. And then it's not so bad anymore, is it? Lots of rules for thee, but not for me. And though I do not encourage the thought of lots of chaos, it is something to think about that maybe political leaders might be a little less willing to do whatever the hell they want if there's a possibility of some defenestration thrown out windows. Not saying you should do that, because that would be a call to violence, and there's been too many superhero shows and nobody's willing to do that anymore. So any call of violence would be completely useless. So don't do it. Neutered. It worked. Now, you got to wait for the whole system to collapse. And that's just how it's going to be. Because too many people are neutered. Too many people aren't willing to help out. Too many people would just declare that you're the villain. And that's it. This narrative stuff worked. Now, they needed some key aspects in culture to kind of bounce off of. This narrative would not work in, say, Russia, as we've seen. This narrative would not work as well in places, it may over time, to be fair. If there was a place that it shouldn't have worked in Japan. But then they also really destroyed a lot of aspects of their culture when they were reconstructing them after World War II. So it's hard to say if those changes were enough to neuter them that they were able to accept some of this crap. But again, they kept a lot of their stuff, so who knows? I'm all over the place on that one. But another thing that kind of comes to mind in this, and I brought this up before, is there was a time right after World War I where enough people were armed, and I'm going to quote the rivals for some stupid reason, dangerous, and had just come back from World War I and had access to guns and knew where the guns were. And there was this small town, I forget which state, but while all those guys were off in World War I, an entire apparatus had been set up of mafia style. What we have today, rigged elections, rigged sheriff department, the whole 9 yards.
It's all rigged.
And corruption out the wazoo. And all these guys came back from World War I, saw it all, and went, and raided the Battle of Athens. Exactly. Bryce knows what we're talking about. And what did these guys do? They went over to the National Guard post, grabbed all the guns, sieged and arrested the sheriff and his deputies, and fought off. I forget who they were fighting. Yeah. And basically locked down the whole town and forced a fair election. The entire apparatus fell apart. Problem was, that's only a piece of the apparatus, as we find out now. There is a larger one that we're dealing with these days. It was in Washington. It was in the entire country. And these guys, these vets who had got these people by the balls and squeezed them and showed them how weak they were if people just go, no, we're not going to let you do that. But you're not using the system that you corrupted. No, I don't care. You're going to stop or we're going to kill you. Right? They actively told other veterans who wanted to do the same thing to save their towns. They pulled a Washington. They said, no, don't do that. Don't a revolution that will destroy all the corruption in the entire country that made us go fight that big war that we didn't need to fight. No, 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 don't do that. We don't want that. And of course, the corruption continued and their legacy died. The narrative. That's why I was bringing up what. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place with this. If I had more time to focus my mind, I would have had a more structured narrative for you, but you get the point. It starts with Washington, this mentality, and it's morphed through all these narrative changes and popular works and constant cultural shifts to the point where you have superheroes who can't kill, even can't stop anything from happening, will never work outside the system, even if they're fighting the system, right? And won't break the system to make something new. Yeah. Neutered. That's what they are. Neutered superheroes. And so you come to the point where in the Battle of Athens, they win and they give up their victory like a bunch of conservative idiots. Instead of capitalizing on that victory, turning all those vets, right? Imagine the irony, right? They send all those guys off to war because they're trying to kill off a bunch of white people, trying to kill off a bunch of Christians, trying to weaken Christendom that they can't destroy anymore from the outside, right? And it burns them in the ass because when all those guys come back, they just tear down the whole system and renew everything. And would have been mostly bloodshed free because they would have had most of the vets, most of the guns on their side for that revolution, and they would have had just a bunch of weak politician Nancy's and their bullies, like guys who were used to pushing women and kids around because the men were all off to war, right? That's all they would have had to have dealt with. Like, remember, Battle of Athens, if I remember correctly, no one actually died. They were able to do all that without killing anyone, even with a shootout with the, I think the National Guard. I'm not sure. I got to remember the story, but there was some kind of shootout. And they managed to do all that without killing anyone and without any of their number being sent to prison. Imagine the difference. It wouldn't have worked, don't get me wrong, and there's no way they would have had the temerity or the balls to get rid of all the crap, because they would have had to have seen all the things that have slowly been revealed over time. The satanic influences on all of our institutions. Now, to be fair, maybe if those guys had seen all that, maybe they would have just burnt it all. I would have been entertained. Keep in mind, like in the not too much later than this, the Jews have this crazy fair where they reenact the hellscape, the complete with a sacrifice of a kid. It's on video. They do this in it was like Denver or Detroit, one of the D's. There's a whole video online of them doing this. If you don't believe me, look it up. It was some fair where they're doing their heritage. And for some reason, they choose, out of all the points in Israeli history, they choose the point where they're sacrificing human children to Baal and do what I hope is a mock sacrifice. But honestly, when you watch it, it looks fucking real. And I wonder if they did just sacrifice a kid in front of everybody and said it was fake. How would you know if it was fake or not? It's not like they show the kid afterwards. I don't know. Now, it might be a bit of a stretch, but it looks so real and so disgusting.
Is it meant to be a stretch, huh?
Yeah, I wonder. Like, who would actually think that was actually real right in front of their faces, right? They say, no, we're just celebrating our heritage. Yeah, of being children of the devil, apparently. Forgive me for noticing there for a little bit. Right? That's what I think that was like in the mid to late 20s, like 10 years after the Battle of Athens. That shit is happening. That's why I can't help but call the greatest generation in the World War generation the dumbest generation. The tough enough to go fight those wars, not smart enough to go fight their true enemy, and that pisses me off on every single level. They actually sometimes anger me more than the boomers. The boomers disgust me, right? But the World War II, World War One generation guys, those guys piss me off because a lot of them actually knew what was going on. Right? A lot of them had like family members who, like I remember stories and stuff that I've heard and read in all the history where like there would be a family member sitting at the table hearing about Pearl Harbor, and the guy would say, "Well, Truman finally has his war," or whatever his face, not Truman, the guy before him, finally has his war. Like, yeah, Roosevelt finally has his war. Well, so you know that there was something questionable. It was Roosevelt.
Okay.
Something questionable going on. That this political leader wanted war really bad, and now he got it. And you're not going to question the validity of that. And now we know that the Japanese were not only goaded into the fight, but that the battleships were purposely put out on the silver platter to be destroyed, while the aircraft carriers were brought away. And all the aircraft, the important stuff, was kept away, making Pearl Harbor a death knell for thousands of Americans that would push them into the war while keeping the important assets safe, allowing for the Battle of the Midway that would come later, right? Meaning they could have stopped that, or they could have stopped the initial attack so it wasn't so damaging, right? But no. They wanted more Americans to die so they'd be angry and join the war. And there was enough men who understood stuff hinky was going on, but didn't do anything about it. And as we saw with the Battle of Athens, they very much could have done something about it back then. Ooh, they pissed me off.
Bed.
More than the boomers, they're the reason why we're here. The boomers were just the hedonistic assholes, right? You know, they were just chasing pussy. They were just chasing dick. They were just chasing the next drug treat they wanted. It's disgusting. They're annoying. You hate them when they're old. But what, you know...
They're a waste of space when they're dead.
Yeah, but again...
That's why a lot of them get cremated.
But again, with them, it's like they disgust me for what... Yeah, they disgust me for what they are. But it's not like they knew any better. Some of them did, right? But they were just whatever. They were just the hedonistic part of the crowd. They annoy me. I hate them, but they're not as bad as the ones who knew better, who chose to do nothing. Those ones. Oh, all for just idealistic nonsense, because that's all it was. As we've seen, democracy just turns to the same thing that it's always turned into throughout history. And they were obsessed with protecting it, even to the destruction of their own children and grandchildren. And it pisses me off that their stupid little idealism was more important to them than actual survival of their children and their children's children and their nation. Nope. George Washington was the weak betrayer in the end. And I say that knowing I'm sorry. The man should have become king, and he was too weak to do it. Too weak to become king. Too idealistic to do it. We would have been infinitely better off with a king. And it's funny to say that. Generations of Americans, and I'll be straight with you. I'm Californian, which means I'm not original person. Though I have ancestors from the Mayflower, right? But my ancestors went to the West Coast. We are a different breed, and not the annoying, angry breed that you hate, right? Those are the assholes that got forced on us through immigration. No more are those those Jewy immigrants that you guys hate that in New York, right? No more of those actual like upstate New Yorkers like original Americans than all the ones that you're dealing with in California. Now, there's always betrayers out there. There's always weirdos like my sister. Don't get me wrong, they're out there. But there's a reason why Reagan came from California, and Reagan was probably a great betrayer these days. But you get the point, right? you understand what I'm saying. The cowboy, as my wife brought up.
You have natural shooting instincts. Just saying.
There was a huge cowboy culture in California. My dad talked about how that he had friends who brought their guns to school.
Your grandpa.
They just kept them in their truck.
I've heard that from my dad too, from Minnesota. So,
yeah. But
it's all
this
over.
is California.
I know,
right? You don't think that's supposed to happen, right? And it's not hunting. Like Minnesota, you could say, oh, they all hunted. Well,
your grandpa,
California, you don't have big game to hunt.
Also, your grandpas come from a long line of.
It's true.
You know,
shooty boys. And the point I'm getting at with that is, you guys, I encourage you to actually look at your genetic history and figure out what you actually are. Because America, United States, is an empire. And an empire, by definition, is a group of nations forcibly and willingly put together under one political entity. Are you original Posterity American? Are you original like New England area? Are you more Minnesota northern stuff? Are you more southern? Are you more like me and West Coast, which has a huge dose of like Slavic in it and Asian cultures as well? You can just see my daughter's little Asian eyes. It's really cute. Skydog says, yes, the vice principal brought his rifle to school and showed it to us in the parking lot. That's sick. This was in the 80s, right? Like, California rioted about Japanese immigrants back in the day. That's how base California was before they had what, essentially, if you look at the United States, that happened in California first. The corruption, right? Biden didn't win the second term. I think his term. We all know that, right? It's pretty obvious, especially in retrospect, to even the ones who couldn't see it, that Biden didn't win. That corruption started in California elections. It bothers me to no end. People wondered, how did they vote against gay marriage back in the day? It's because the majority of them were not these crazy Los Angeles nut jobs, right?
Like even the people in Los Angeles that I know, they're not even American.
Yeah.
Only because they were born by some snake oil or whatever and the Inca babies.
Crap, right?
Because they're half Chinese. I mean, they're Chinese that got over when pregnant and had the babies.
Yep.
Oh, look, we got American kids. See?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So many foreigners. Now, I don't want to do the no true Scotsman fallacy. There is always those weirdos. Like, as much as I want to allow the South to disclaim the Clintons, I'm sorry, but they are very much white boy Southerners. It's very unfortunate. Trailer trash is trailer trash, as it were. But you're always going to have betrayers. And honestly, I'd give up Reagan because it turns out he was probably one too. It irks me. But you guys should be looking into this, because when the chips are down and things fall apart, that's who you guys are going to be. Like, I'm going to be whatever California West. Yeah.
Catalina, they had Russians there to help bring it to what it was.
Well, yes.
The Russian. Are
we talking? Oh, okay. We're not talking. We're not talking about the original ship that accidentally killed all the natives.
No, the one that actually they tried and helped bring back the one that started that mission on Catalina.
I don't think that was in Catalina Island.
What was it?
Farther north was the Russian stuff, but they had it on Catalina and had an incident where the natives were peaceful, and then there was an altercation, and the natives attacked, and the Russians responded with force and killed all the men, and then realized that the 50 men that they killed was the entire male population of the Catalina Island, and a little they were a little sheepish about this and went, oh shit. And so rather than let all the women and children starve to death, they brought them with them, and they except for one person.
I was actually bringing that story up. Okay.
A little different though.
I was thinking of the happy ending.
You were thinking of the Spanish. The Spanish missions there saved all the natives from starvation.
It's little Mexicans and the Aztecs. And
that's the other thing, right? Part of the reason why West Coast is different is our genetics are different. We have Spanish.
You
We
got
have
the British
Slavic.
and
We have British. We have French, and we have Dutch. This is
there's a
like
Dutch city.
don't.
I gotta take you there someday.
Yes, yes, you do. Like don't like. What's the genetic the original became different, right? You have mostly British, some kinds of Dutch,
Some
but
Irish
for the
too.
most part, very British descendants with not a lot of mixing with the rest. You had like you could say the Pennsylvanian Dutch, but they kind of stayed to themselves.
They're
You
more
know, right?
dramatic, aren't
Right.
they?
You had more of that dramatic culture, more of that
The
stuff.
German Dutch
Mhm.
mix.
Which was kind of a different shift. And you actually have writings from, I think it was Benjamin Franklin, talking about how they just made a different nation within a nation in Pennsylvania. And then the South has a little bit of Spanish, but not very much. It's more like Florida. The Spanish left pretty quick. Right? They didn't leave as much of a note there. But they have a lot more of like Scots-Irish in the Southern makeup, if that makes sense, especially in like
Nice, you got the Cubans in.
especially in the middle United States and whatnot, like Arkansas and all that. You have a lot more Scots-Irish influence. Antebellum South and all that has a slightly different genetic makeup as a result. The West Coast, its genetic makeup was a strong mixing of British fur trappers.
The West Coast or the East Coast?
West Coast.
Okay.
Of California, we're West Coast.
Okay.
Right. For me, our genetic makeup, the original groups that made. She open her eyes. Oh, stubborn. It's like almost midnight. This child that made up our what would become essentially the West Coast man is a mixture of Spanish, American, because when the American gold rushes came over, the original British fur trappers and French fur trappers and Slavic Russians who basically came over. Like, there's a reason why like northern cities have a very strong like British or Slavic sounding name. It's because you had the Russians coming in as well, down from Alaska and whatnot. And ironically, the Russians had very good relations with most of the natives. This is also because the natives on the West Coast were not like the natives on the East Coast or in the plains, who were basically monsters. They were savages. They were assholes to each other. They were assholes to everyone around them. And the white men were just better at killing than they were. And that's all the story of the West.
They didn't mean to go Genghis Khan on that one.
It's pretty funny. Like, I mean, both sides seem to have used witchcraft in strange ways every now and then. But don't get me started on some of the weird bloodline mixing stuff that we will get in. That's a Grizzly Files episode, though, not this. That's creepy file stuff. Basically, a lot of attempts by Western Satanists and witch covens and pagans to try to mix bloodlines with the Native Americans of various tribes to try to increase magical powers and stuff, demonic power stuff. Amazing the trouble they have to go through. Isn't it nice that all we need is Jesus Christ for that kind of stuff? It's great. They have to go for all this trouble finding bloodlines and sacrificing, killing siblings and all this other shit. And what do? We pray to Christ and he reviews and he gives us spiritual gifts. It's awesome.
And what does he tell us to do when we can't,
Mm-hmm.
we warn our brother or sister several times? Oh, have nothing to do with them.
Well, that kind of came out of nowhere. I was on spiritual gifts, woman.
I mean,
maybe
I couldn't help it. Your sister acting like an ex-girlfriend.
It's just out of nowhere.
I'm sorry.
Let's just say we were cutting the feminist crazy person out of my life, and she called my work a couple of times. So
I told her a year ago not to contact us until she was done with her crap. And then she's been calling ever since, and now she's took it a step further, and I'm just...
So Levy. But
don't worry,
this is what I'm trying to get at here. I have slowly over time in the last few years come to a conclusion that I'm not American. I'm Californian. I am that West Coast mix. In my case, strong Dutch, American, and as I've been figuring out, Slavic on
There's
my
gotta
mom's
be
side.
some Slavic in your mom's side, because there's no way your grandma and
I-
I are so.
I wish the genetic testing wasn't so full of crap these days, because I don't need to give that stuff to the enemy. But it would be kind of nice to confirm it, because to help you understand, my wife is 100% Slavic, 100% Ukrainian, back when that wasn't such a dirty word. And
Kozak. I'm like,
Kozak will go with, right? And she could, like, if you look at my sister, she looks like she could be one of them.
I had so many people ask me when I was with their mom before we were engaged, like, hey, is this your daughter, your other daughter?
But it gets more intense. Like, my grandma has similar mannerisms to her. Like, they've never met.
The mannerisms
Before she met my family proper, like,
they
knew her family, but before she met my extended family, she had mannerisms from my extended family.
What's funny too is, when I met my birth family, we had same mannerisms.
It's
my
really strong.
Adopted family, completely different mannerisms than I do.
They're dramatic.
They're very dramatic.
Very, very Pennsylvania German, if you will.
And it's just really funny how just all naturally my grandma.
I will attest. Iberian Peninsula, how's that feel? Vague French noises for some reason.
Parfait.
By the way, one day, when we get this big enough, maybe sooner, I want to get people together and I want to make an Assassin's Creed replacement, but fully Christianized, or the Christians are the good guys fighting pagans and people worshiping ancient gods and stuff.
And you get to tie millstones and push them off?
But base it in the Reconquista on the Iberian Peninsula. Not only would it go really well because there hasn't been an Assassin's Creed in Spain yet, but basically the story tells itself. Oh, one day. Plus, the cities would be really unique to put in a video game environment because they have just a unique feel all themselves, and the mountains and stuff. Oh. Plus, from a game design perspective, mountains are much easier to work with because you can like control the flow of traffic for the players a bit more. If that makes any sense. Oh my little lady!
My arms are burning.
Good workout.
No.
Bad workout.
Yeah, very bad.
Good but bad.
I have to eat more.
Like mine? More meat? You had a lot of meat though. You were like almost had a meat coma. Well, it looks like I might need to get off soon and help with the little lady.
She'll run herself silly.
She looks really tired now. Like she's just sitting there like, I'm free? What happened? I always get put to bed when this happens. Oh, waddle away. She found something. So, man, what was the original reason I was bringing this up?
Talking about mannerisms about your grandma.
No.
About how
No, I'm talking about the original point of nationalism and why it's important.
Oh, that.
Why it's important that you understand what part of the empire you actually are and what
so you don't
actually
have weird bloodlines and the weird demon stuff.
No, that was a tangent.
Okay.
That was definitely a tangent. Oh, I think it allows you, Native Californians unite, Jefferson rises. Yes, we will base it in Catalina Island so we have some buffer between the mainland so we can take it back. I like this plan. Randomly that we're on this subject, tangent, unexpected. My wife had me watch the original Hawaii Five-0, which is a really weird show. Kind of poorly written, but oddly entertaining. I say poorly written because, like, as a writer, I get a little. I analyze these things like they don't set up their red herrings properly. If you're making a proper detective show, red herrings are really important. And getting it's like it could be an instinct thing of knowing how to use a red herring, or when the
you're
red
bringing
herring,
up the episode
yeah,
too.
or when the red herring is actually should be the actual. Maybe I should say red herring is not and books where you have the character introduced who looks really suspicious, like this guy's probably the murderer, but he turns out not to be. Like he's, the sleight of hand. It could be him, but it's not him. How many times did you watch a detective show and they're following this is the guy, and they get there and the guy's dead? Right. This is a common trope because if the guy's dead and he didn't kill himself and someone killed him, obviously he's not the murderer. See? So they mess up the red herrings in the show a lot. But the second episode, the second episode of Hawaiian 5
Season 1.
I kid you not, is like Hawaiian nationalism on full display.
And at the end,
and it's this like I'm actually kind of rooting for the villain the whole time. It's this hilarious thing where back then apparently it was acceptable for the Hawaiians to have nationalism, but not the white people. Not the white people. But even though the Hawaiians were supposed to like nationalistic and all that, they were still supposed to kind of submit. That was like the weird like message of the entire weird, convoluted, poorly written episode. Like I love some of the concepts in it. Like the villain is mad because they're destroying the land, building these huge sky-rise hotels, and driving out his people and making these crappy
all for money.
Copy paste houses for them to live in. Like the last guy he's gonna kill, he's like gonna bury him on the site where they're building all these cookie cutter houses, and he says, yeah, man, and you could die right here, be under all these metal boxes where you're stuffing my people. You can be buried with them, you bastard. And I'm like, I like that guy. He's gonna run over Killdozer. It was great. And of course they kill him. They blow him up. It's kind of intense.
No, he runs into their dynamite thing. He kills himself.
Well, first they shoot him, and then he runs into it. In the slowest death ever on a bulldozer.
I thought he was aiming for it. Like he was.
No, they shot him in the arm, and he couldn't do it anymore, and it like drove right into it.
Oh.
You didn't see him.
I saw him being shot in the arm, but I thought he was.
Like, well, maybe.
I'm going to get arrested. I might as well just, blow myself up in like a burning light.
But of course, right, they have to have the nationalist dude be crazy, destroy his family, frame his son-in-law, and all this other crap, right? But the closing scene, I kid you not, is one of the Hawaiians on the police staff repeats the line that the villain said, which is, we won't know ourselves, like we won't know our own land, like we'll be strangers in our own land. And he's like crying, looking out over the destroyed Hawaiian landscape of all these cookie cutter houses.
White guys like, no.
Yeah, and they like the white dudes are like, it's okay, man, and they just walk away. Like, so the message I'm getting here is in the lines of that horrible Marvel show, he's not wrong, but he's out of line, right? He's just going about it the wrong way. But also, his people should submit because Jews like their beaches.
Bitches. I mean, bitches.
They're beaches and bitches, right? And they want their Hawaii vacations, basically. What a wild, what a wild thing. Also, the first episode. The villain from UHF is the villain of the first episode, which was very strange and off-putting. I could not take him seriously the whole time because I kept expecting Weird Al Malkovich to come out and do a weird song that I don't understand the reference to. What's really funny? I have a Boomer Boss right now, and he played some music, and I finally figured out the songs that Weird Al was making fun of. I had never heard them before. I didn't know they were just crappy boomer music. Now I know. The originals were way worse. Just as bad as those knockoff songs in that movie, to be honest. And then those were bad.
I remember you tried to show me that movie.
She couldn't get through all the way. I don't blame her. I don't blame her. It is a movie for the young and the gamma. Yeah, not entirely, but it's one of those things that you laugh at when you're younger or you're drunk, and then you watch it sober one time and go, "Oh, it's not as funny as I thought." Skydog, I'm spending most of my time living in an Amish paradise. Washington? Skydog.
He says that.
Okay.
Gross.
Clearly the Amish mafia.
Gross.
That tangent within a tangent within a tangent. That's a Weird Al song. Oh, see, I don't know anything the man that gets the dude's making fun of ever in my entire life. What are you doing? If you hit your child,
I'm not gonna hit her.
She's kind of in the line of fire.
No, she won't.
Better not miss. That was way closer to your child than the dog.
She's away from.
And you managed to miss everything.
I wasn't gonna hit the dog.
What was the point of?
Hey, Rosie, come here. See?
Yeah, just because she's female and she's like masochist like most females. Oh, you hit me in a way I like. Let me come over and say hi. Oh God! Okay. Oh God! Okay. It's just okay, Rose. Hi. Yes, you're a star. How about that? Yeah. Okay. Yes. Shots fired. I don't know who. Oh, because you threw something. Yep. Now the cat's in the window. I don't. You better not start barking like those those cats on TikTok. But oh, I finally can get to my original point of going down the nationalistic tangent.
Your butt's bony, dog.
I was gonna say my butt is not bony, woman.
Oh wait, that's her foot.
As I was gonna say before, something else distracts me. Because I am Californian, I can actually look at the American culture in a more critical eye without taking personal offense. Says the dog, apparently. Oh no! We messed with the light somehow.
You're too black. Come back.
Oh, she's laying down. And one of those is just the fact that in every way, it would have been better if Washington had set down his doctrine into a lineage, a line of people, hopefully his children, but I know he had some reproductive issues, but at least family members, setting up the concept, right? Because what last I checked, teeth don't make babies, but I mean they help sometimes the foreplay, but if he had set up for a dynasty of kings following after him that were resistant to joining foreign wars, resistant to creating national banks, Alexander Hamilton, that asshole, America and the Americas, and of course not turning into an empire, Americas would have been in a much better state.
Are you seriously going to do that right now? Please don't. That's just
Anyway, and so that mentality that came from it, always trust the system and let the system work itself out and never change the system through violence, is now biting America in the butt because they've been taken over by foreigners who are now turning the system against the locals, who are now, just like that Hawaiian in Hawaiian 5-0, becoming strangers in their own land. Great. And good job. These are all questions we need to think about as young men of faith. Because guess what? We're going to be the ones to make the new kingdoms and stuff that rise up from the ashes of this empire. Now, I know everyone has the kind of melancholy thing about the Elendil Age and whatnot, right? I want to remind everyone what happens after so many got right. What happens after the third age in Lord of the Rings that they're all talking about, the age of man, where Aragorn ushers in a golden age for the Middle Earth. As the elves go where they were supposed to go, back to Valinor where they weren't supposed to come back, and create a super kingdom where they drive out evil and orcs and all the rest. Right? That is what you need to think about. Don't think about the third age too much. Yeah, we're going to be the ones fighting in the third age. We're going to be fighting the orcs and slapping the trolls around, right? But we're creating a situation, yes, where our children are going to create another golden age. Another, like, I like the Roman Empire as much as any other dude, but the Roman Empire pales in comparison to the multi-imperial crazy Christendom that came out of it. All right? It took a long time, but think about it. If Rome never collapsed, you would never have had France, England, the Renaissance level art and everything in the Italian states. You would have never, Venice, all this stuff would have never happened because Rome itself would have crushed all of it before it could have been created. Something to remember. And unlike Rome, the American Empire is a bigger lie. It has been a lie from the beginning and a disgusting one. It's been a manipulative, satanic nightmare. There's been great aspects to it. Frontier, a lot. Killing off, slapping around, killing off various Apache type entities. Lots of stuff. But a whole lot of evil has come out of it, and a lot of trickery and nonsense. And I want the American nation to exist. They need to stop doing the empire thing. It's not good for them, and it's only going to lead to the destruction of many different nations under them. And I'm looking forward to that. And honestly, civilization itself isn't going to completely collapse anyway, because both Russia and China have showed that their lights aren't going to get shut off if our lights get shut off. Things would have turned into, in my opinion, a full Ellen deal, like fall down third age situation if the Russians and the Chinese had allowed the rot, which they were for a while, allowed the rot in and let it in forever, right? And got destroyed themselves, which was very much a temptation, and both almost did it. It was only by the grace of God that both nations fought back. And they're not perfect by any means, but I'm pointing out civilization won't all collapse. Engineering, knowledge is going to be kept in those areas. The year one fanatic age, so we're all terrified of the witches, the pagans, and the monsters of the woods, right? The witch doctor types, right? They aren't going to be able to convince Russia and China to destroy themselves. So knowledge will be preserved, and there'll be places where we can get technology and guns we need to keep our nations alive as we try to rebuild our civilization.
Does that mean I get the little Henry survival rifle?
I do want to get you a Henry survival rifle, if money allows. She wants a little folding rifle. It's cute.
Stores up in the stock.
So yeah. Oh, and because I mentioned Firefly in the last episode, we talked a little bit about it. Josh Whedon is a gamma whore, and he wants women to be whores, and that's what Firefly was. And that's sad because I loved Firefly as a show, but when you really get into it, it's all female power. Also, insults to the Bible and the typical gamma method. Like, do you remember the part where the super,
and then they're writing?
Yeah, the super intelligent girl who's been like, who's the super genius about everything. Like, they love this sci-fi shows and other shows. There's like the Young Sheldon show is that in a nutshell, essentially. Stupid midwit arguments pretending that the most genius people agree with them.
Cleaning the house.
And so, yes, she is. She's getting on your case. And so in that one, right, she rips out all of the parts of the Bible that were inaccurate. But the big one that I bring, it's kind of out of left field, but I did say we'd talk about Firefly. Is pushing the horror lifestyle for women, and that it's not destructive, that there's something healthy about it, and even regal, more than just fun. You'll be the important prostitute ambassador of the ship. Ironically, right, through that whole show, Mal the captain constantly reminding you, because remember, he's reminding you when he does this, that she is in fact just a fucking whore. Despite under all the regalness, she's just a whore, right? You're also supposed to hate him for that. Like, he's supposed to be a bad part of him. It's the part that drives away his love life, right? With the whore. Apparently, that's the best he can do, is a whore who probably has syphilis. Like, I find that really questionable in a way. That the Malude would be so interested in the whore, because he's had to share her with like every nobleman on every planet they've ever been to. I mean, maybe she might know a lot of sex acts. Alphas do weird things for less, but I personally, I don't like sharing that much myself. Also, if you take her out of the show, and you should just think about it, except for maybe 1 or 2 episodes that you could have easily replaced her with something else, she's completely a non-entity that's not necessary. She is just there.
She's like mostly gone on trips anyway.
Yeah, she's right. And the few episodes that she's important, you could have
you're
easily
just being a taxi for her.
Yeah, yeah. So she could push degeneracy. Her whole point in the story is to push degeneracy. Probably at the end of the 14 episodes, I'd say, maybe even like 11 or 12.
She's like, I know you're a whorehouse. Don't
and we'll say 11.
Blah blah blah.
I need to rewatch it, but I'll say 11 episodes. If you took the prostitute character out of it, the narrative does not change, and you would not notice.
And who plays Jackson and
Andrew Jackson,
Daniel Jackson.
That's the one.
It's also in there.
That's what I read. But you get the point, right?
The guy if you still can't act.
Think from a narrative structure. Take the character out, all of her scenes, you would not notice a difference in the overarching narrative. She's not important. So why is she there? Why did the freaky Josh Whedon dude, who we all know is a pervert and a little gamma freak, why did he include her? Because he was trying to push degeneracy, trying to push his little slay queen, like his whore of choice out there, right? His mommy whore would be the best way to put it. Right. Why is the whore the arbiter of truth and morality? Right. You could argue the preacher was, but the preacher in his the preacher, whenever he's engaging with the prostitute, the few times to have him doing that, he's comfortable. He's like completely at the mercy of her morality. She is always the one dictating morality, not him. In every other situation, he's like every other character there. He would be the moral one. That's kind of because he's a preacher, right? He's doing the morality. But with her, she's always the one doing the morality, i.e., the Babylon, the whore of Babylon, is the arbiter of reality and morality. And then the accumulation of the series is a lame episode where they're protecting the whores. And more than that, they're protecting the whore of Babylon's way of life. And, you have these people who will say, but there's historical precedents for special courtesans in the court who were still whores. And only like whoring, it wasn't the kind of guy. It wasn't like the females everyone was wanting necessarily. It was like the courtesy. In a way, like you could argue, okay, Britney Spears was put on a pedestal for a while, right? But there were prettier girls than her. There really were. And though there was a lot of people putting her on that pedestal, she was still just a whore. I don't know where I was going with that as much. The point is, those courtesans in this concept were only whoring themselves out to special playboys who would never treat them more than a whore. And they didn't get special status or anything. But they got nice things because they wanted their whores around, but that was it.
Oh, great.
But it was not a wonderful life by any means, especially in these time periods they're talking about where syphilis was running rampant and other diseases. I've brought this up in previous streams and episodes. The reason why the Victorian area was frumpy and very, so we say, disciplined in the sexual area is because an entire generation of sexual deviants and, all the people having sex out of marriage died off because of syphilis, which came from the Americas. It was just that prevalent, and it burned through all of the whorehouses, all of the plays where people, because back in the day, like Shakespeare's plays and all that, you know what? Part of the reason why they were so coarse was that's where you went to commit adultery. Like you went there to find other people to hook up with. It was like a gay bar, like a dating bar, if you will. You would go there, you would do a bunch of debauchery, and then you'd run off with someone to sleep with. And so syphilis, being a sexually transmitted disease, burned through all those playhouses. Ironic in that situation that some of the best art was created. But hey, what are you going to do? All right, I'm thinking I better get off here pretty soon because she's fighting back too hard. But yeah, I realized I didn't have as much to say about Firefly as much as I wanted. There are some other small things in there, but if that's the new, but it's actually kind of good to bring it up because if the neutering of the superhero is the neutering of the male hero's ability to fight back, then the Babylon whoring of the female part pushes women into debauchery and thinking that this is where the high class, the woman's woman goes, right? That's how that character was always portrayed, right? They always had the younger woman, starry-eyed and glassy-eyed, and wow, she's so beautiful, letting all those ugly dicks inside her all the time, right? Remember, the captain character, every time he pointed it out, right? Everyone was supposed to cringe and feel awkward, even the priest and whatnot, right? But remember, what he's doing is playing the voice of the audience, and that guy in the audience, mostly me, when I'm in the audience, saying, "But she is a whore." That's what she is. There's nothing glamorous about it. It's quite disgusting. I mean, you can wrap a piece of shit in a lovely bow and a great box, shit. But it's still shit. Worse, it's probably full of disease.
Worms.
Yeah. And so I accidentally brought this all together.
Happy accident.
Yeah, the balance there, the two halves. You have the male half being neutered and unwilling to take things into their own hands and allowing their systems to be utterly corrupted and betrayed. And on the other hand, you have the female half being pushed to take on the lead and thinking that they're the supreme intelligent and the arbiters of morality. And rather than settling down and having families and getting married and being with strong, heroic men, they are instead whoring around and creating a morality around it, saying that this is their nirvana, and this is their the pursued woman. It's hilarious. The whore at the party is pursued because she's a whore, because the guy wants to have a good time. But she gets cast aside really fast, and she's never taken home to mom by any of them. Right? This is the reality of it. I'm not saying the alphas always go when they do settle down with the the farmer's daughter type either, but they definitely don't go with the party goer either. There's like that weird to do. They'd probably be better off with a farmer's daughter, but who is more apex. But that isn't me. No, actually, they'd be better off if someone slapped them around and put them into a shotgun marriage the first time they had a dalliance. Ironically, the best spot for an alpha. A shotgun right to the brain saying, you are now going to not do what King David did and pursue Bathsheba. We are not going to allow this.
Everybody needs a taser.
Oh, hello, Puss for Brains. How are you, little push? Wow, you're very happy right now, aren't you?
He's like, yeah, creepy people came in the house today. I know. Inspections.
Luckily, we're not going to be in a government housing anymore. That'll be helpful. Sorry, we're very distracted by our own kitty cat. So, what I'm bringing out here is the two hands that play side by side. The fake morality, fake neutered hero with the heinous fake whore hero. And this is what they put both genders through, oddly enough. Attacking the well-to-do go-getters of both sexes. I didn't realize that till I was bringing that up with you guys, and that makes me kind of happy to talk about stuff. Sometimes it just comes to you. And I think we can all see how that played out. Throw that blanket on her face. Oh, all right. But my child needs to go to bed, and she's clearly not going to fall asleep while I'm gabbing here. So you guys have been awesome. Thanks for joining in. If all goes well, I hope I can get the first few episodes. Like, we're moving, okay? But I want to get a few of the next semester episodes up soon. I won't say next week for sure, but I'm going to be working on writing those episodes out this week. That's my goal. And work has finally calmed down. and I gotta help pack, right? But when I'm not packing, I have time to write.
Yeah. While I'm like wrapping things with bubble wrap and whatnot.
Wrap you in bubble wrap and roll you down the. Be fun. Bubble wrap taco, burrito, sandwich.
What are you gonna do? Throw the cat at me?
Cologne. What's the Italian thing? Oh, the mafia.
No.
Like, take the leave the gun. Take the cannoli. There we go. Cannoli bubble wrap cannoli. It's filled with like white frosting. It's delicious. Anyway,
Or they have a tiramisu, so that when I do go down,
but you're not that milky.
I'll go there. I miss you.
All right, we gotta get going. Our jokes are getting bad, and this is not good. So, awkward pause is great. You guys have been fun. Thanks for showing up and having a good time with us. Hopefully, we'll get some new episodes soon. I'm trying to do the outro, woman. Can I finish?
Do the outro.
Remember, every Saturday will be a Grizzly Files, which will be an episode on something creepy from a Christian perspective. Every Sunday, hopefully starting next week, will be Grizzly Files. No. The Warrior's Path, Sunday school lessons, and every Monday we will go over that written lesson in this format, which is what you're on right now. Every Friday is the gaming stream, and I'm not going to add any more till we're moved at the end of January, just to let you all know. But after that, I'll have more time to write books and do stuff. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. I'm actually going to have weekends every week. I had like 3 days off. It's amazing.
We'll have a different schedule too. The kids will wake up earlier and go to bed earlier.
I've basically had a year of split weekends, and I'm ready to pull my hair out and die, and then come back to life. Oh, hey, I don't have any hair. My beard?
It's kind of exceeded a little more.
Anyway, you guys are fun. I'll see you guys Friday.
Hey. Oh, you crazy.
And of course, Sunday, Saturday, Monday. I'm going to go help this child go to bed. Catch you guys later. Thanks for joining. Grizzly out. Oh, I missed the button.